Hello and welcome to Super Great Kids Stories. Wise tales from storytellers around the world, which will make you laugh and sometimes cry. Recommended for ages 5 to 105. I'm Kim and I love stories. Hello, Super Great Kids. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving if you were celebrating. I wonder if you told anyone a story this week. If not, why not give it a go? It's now December, the month which brings us Christmas, and it's a lovely gift to tell someone a story. Oh, and our live show in the Irish Cultural Centre in London with Toop, Kate Corkery and me is only about a day away. Yee-haw! Do come along and join in the stories if you can, this Saturday, December the 7th. We're really looking forward to meeting you. And we're making the audio of the show available to all outlets so they can have a listen and join in too later. And in other exciting news, we have a new T-shirt on our website. The Ghost of the Bloody Finger T-shirt. It's very fun. Do have a look. Now, since it's December, we have a new theme. Fairy tales. Fairy tales don't always have fairies in them. No, sometimes they have witches. Yeah, witches. In fact, this week the story has a Yamamba or mountain witch from Japan. And it's told by the wonderful storyteller Masako Carey. Now, just before we hear from Masako, here's a little question for you. If you were telling your version of a fairy tale, which story do you think you'd like to tell? Would it be a fun one like Stick Woman or a scary one like Baba Yaga and Vasilisa? Have a think about which fairy tale you'd like to tell while we have a quick word with the grown-ups. Ready? Off you go. Hello, Super Great Kids, I'm back. Did you decide which fairy tale you'd like to have a go at telling? A good tip is to start with a very simple story like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Let me know if you managed to tell a story to someone. But right now, it's time to travel to Japan with Masako Carey to hear a story about a mountain witch. Are you sitting somewhere safe and warm and cosy? Then let the story come hissing out.
Hello, Super Great Kids. This is Masako, and I have another Japanese story for you today. Before I start, do you know what national costume is in Japan? What it's called? Anybody? It's called kimono. Well, people wore that 100 years ago as a normal thing, but nowadays it's a very special thing. It's only worn for special occasions like coming of age day, 20 years old, and weddings and some ceremonies. But anyway, this kimono used lots of strings to fasten it. And at the end, you hold it with a belt, thick belts called obi. And for my next story, this belt plays some part. So Japanese stories start with the word mukashi mukashi. So please join me to say the word and we'll start the story. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Mukashi mukashi. Long time ago, there was a small temple at the foot of the mountain. And there lived an abbot and a little monk. One day, the little monk was cleaning the yard. It was autumn time, and there were lots of leaves to clean, but he was working hard. And then the abbot came to him and said, little monk, you see, up the mountain, There should be lots of chestnuts. Why don't you go and get some? So the little monk, he carried this bamboo basket on his back and he set off up in the mountain. Oh, the monk was right. There are tons of chestnuts here. So the little monk, he started to pick one after another, and he was a hard-working one. He wasn't watching time. When he looked up, the sun was coming down. Oh no, I don't have any lantern. I can't go home. And he started to cry. And then a beautiful woman with a lantern walked by. What's wrong with you, little monk? I can't go home. I don't have a lantern. Oh, don't worry. Why don't you come to my house? Surely you can go home tomorrow. Really? Oh, thank you. Arigatou gozaimasu. That's thank you in Japanese, by the way. So he followed this beautiful woman. And she gave him lovely food, fresh fish and white rice and some vegetable pickles. It was tasty. And then she put him on the softest futon, and he fell asleep straight away. Shh! Shh! What's that sound? A strange sound woke up the little monk. Shh! Shh! The sound seems to be coming from the next room. So he tiptoed and then opened the sliding door and looked out. And there was Yamamba, the mountain witch, with a shaggy grey hair and googly golden eyes and fangs coming out from her big mouth. And she was sharpening a huge knife. Shh! 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 And she picked the knife up and then she checked how sharp it was. Oh, that little monk looked tasty. And she started to sharpen it again. Shh! Shh! The little monk thought, oh, she's gonna eat me. I need to get away from here. And then the next second, ah! You saw me. And then with the magic, suddenly the obi that was lying about the belt for kimono started to move like a big snake, and it slithered up to the little monk and wrapped him around from head to toe. The little monk couldn't move. Oh dear! But then this little monk, he was a clever one, and he said, I need to go to toilet. I really need to go to toilet. So not that Yamamba Mountain Witch wanted to, but she took him to the toilet. As soon as he was inside the toilet, he took off the obi, the belt that was around him, and he wrapped it around the pole which was holding up the roof. Well, before he left the temple, the abbot gave him 3 lucky charms made out of papers, just in case. So he took one out and he placed it between the obi and said, answer instead of me when asked. And then he sneaked out from the small window and ran for his life. Meanwhile, outside the toilet, the Yamamba Mountain Witch said, are you done yet? And then the lucky charm answered, not yet. Another while passed, and then the Yamamba Mountain Witch said, are you done yet? And then the lucky charm answered, not yet. Something is suspicious here. So she opened the door, and the mountain witch Yamamba saw the little monk climb out the window and run away. So she started to run after the little monk. And can she ran fast? And soon she was right behind him. Oh no, she's right behind me. So he took out the second lucky charm and he said, big water, come out. And he threw it to your mamba. And then a huge water, a big lake came out that you can't see from side to side. But then your mamba said, I can gulp this up in one go. So can you help me gulp up? 1, 2, 3. And all the water was gone. And she was after him again. And she's right behind me. So the little monk took out the last lucky charm, the third one. And he said, big fire, come out. And he threw it to Yamamba. And a huge fire came out. You can't see from side to side. But then Yamamba said, I can blow this up in one go. So can you help me blow? Ready? 1, 2, 3. And all the fire was gone. But by this time, luckily, the little monk was at the temple. And he opened the door. Abbot, help me. Yamamba is coming to eat me. Oh, is she? Why don't you go and hide? Said the abbot. And then the abbot, he went to the back and got a stove, a portable charcoal cooker. And he brought this portable stove to the front. And then he took out mochi. It is a sticky rice, but when it's dry, it's very hard. But when you cook it, it becomes nice and soft and tasty. So using chopstick, he started to cook this mochi, the rice cake. And soon enough, the witch arrived. Where is that little monk? He is mine. Oh, well, if you impress me with your magic, maybe I'll give him to you. What do you want me to do? Well, can you make yourself small? Like a bean? Oh, maybe that's too difficult. It's too small, isn't it? Of course I can do it. So then, Yamamba, she started to make herself smaller and smaller and smaller. And she turned into a small bean. Then the abbot, he picked up his chopstick, picked up Yamamba bean, and then he placed it in the cooked sticky rice. He rolled the mochi rice and he ate it. So that was the end of Yamamba, and that was the end of 3 lucky charms. The end. Oshimai.
Thank you so much, Masako, for sharing that story. Yamamba was a bit frightening, wasn't she? I wonder why witches are so keen to eat children. Did she remind you of Baba Yaga, the Russian witch? In that bit where she was drinking the lake and blowing out the fire, it did remind me a little bit of that story, Baba Yaga's Breakfast. And here's my question for you, a little test to see how closely you were listening. Can you remember how the 3 lucky charms helped the little monk to escape from the witch? Maybe you can remember one of them, if not all 3. Well, there was one which turned into a talking snake. Then there was that one which turned into a huge body of water or a lake. And there was a lucky charm which turned into a raging fire. Can you remember them now? Could you send us a picture of Yamamba with her grey shaggy hair, her golden googly eyes and her tusks hanging out of her mouth? I wonder if she's friends with Baba Yaga. Do you think maybe witches have witchy friends and maybe invite them round for potion parties? Do send us any of the pictures you draw. We love seeing them. Send them to facebook.com/supergreatkidsstories. And now, it's time to spread our wings and fly around the world with Story Owl to say hello to some new owlets who've hopped into our nest and joined our club. Hello to Oliver, who is 5 and lives in Los Angeles in California. He's been listening since he was 2.5. So you've been a Super Great Story fan for half of your life, Oliver. Goodness me. And his favourite stories are The Changeling and Stick Woman. He particularly enjoys the song the old woman sings when she's in the pumpkin because he says it's so funny. And he hopes one day to meet Kim and all the storytellers. We'd love to meet you, Oliver. Maybe next September when our book comes out in the US. That's a very long time to wait, I know, but you're good at being patient because you had to wait a very long time to hear this shout out. Thank you for your patience. Hoo, 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 hoo. Let's travel east now across the US and go to Virginia to hoot hello to Juliana, who is 7. Her favourite story is How Raven Brought Light to the World. She loves listening to Super Great Kids stories in the bath and when she's on long car journeys. Both good places to listen to stories, I think. And let's head down to Dallas in Texas next to say hello to Owlet Jonesy, who's just turned 7 and become an owlet for her birthday. Jonesy has twin brothers, Walt and Wyatt, who are 5.5. They love listening to Super Great Kids stories in the car together and especially like it when there's a riddle or a joke. Jonesy's favourite stories are the animal ones. Yes, you can't beat animal stories, can you, Jonesy? I wonder if you have a favourite animal. And a big hoot out now to 7-year-old Nate from Marshfield in Massachusetts in the US. Nate loves to practice his retelling of the Ghost of the Bloody Finger, and he says that the Owl Stories podcast is his favourite. Hurrah! That's lovely to hear, Nate. Thank you. And a big hello next to Owlet Alice from Seattle in the US, who likes the scary stories best. Very brave of you, Alice. She likes to listen while she's making glue and glitter potions. Bubble, bubble, boil and trouble. Good for you, Alice. Her mum says she likes to listen along too sometimes. Please don't turn your mum into a frog or a bean, Alice. And let's head north next to Manitoba in Canada to give a big hoot out to Sophia, who is 8, and Eleanor, who is 6. Sophia and Eleanor enjoy listening to Super Great Kids stories when they're spending time with their tia doing arts and crafts. Eleanor and Sophia agree that their favourite stories are The Hairy Toe and The Weeping Willow. Good choices. And let's fly west next to Grapeview in Washington State to say hello to new Owlet Baylor, whose granny introduced him to the Owlet Club for his 6th birthday. His favourite stories are The Boy Who Drew Cats and The Griffin. Great stories. That's it for our Owlet Hellos this week. And our Pick of the Week picture goes to 9-year-old Kira from Morrisville in North Carolina, who has drawn a beautiful picture of Sheila Arnold's Weeping Willow story. I love the long sweeping branches and delicate yellow leaves and the dark earth below it. A super great drawing. Thank you, Kira. And finally, a big thank you to all Super Great Owlets and their families who are supporting our podcast and making it possible for us to find new storytellers. If you'd like to support us on Patreon or on Apple Podcasts, we'll say hello to you on the show. You can hear our stories advert-free and you'll have access to over 40 Owlet bonus stories and at least 30 super great scary stories. Plus, you'll get access to our Super Great Kids Stories Express with short introductions, no adverts, purely story. Great for listening to stories back to back. And did you know that you can now gift a Patreon membership to the Owlets Club? Visit our website for more details, supergreatkidsstories.com. Keep telling your stories and singing your songs. Thanks again to the storyteller this week, Masako Carey. This podcast was produced at Wardour Studios in fabulous Fitzrovia in London.